Hello, everybody. Happy Monday, start of another week. Glad to always be here at the table with you all. And I appreciate your time, your energy, your support, your comments, your intelligence, your passion, all the things that show up here. As many of you know, if you've been with me, I do see this platform as a community. You know, I do my part, you do your part, and I appreciate it. I really do. If you're just landing here, I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. You can check out more about me on my About page, About tab, or even just go to my website, trulytouchedbytarot.com, and learn more about my background. But essentially, I've been doing this for years. I'm also a former newspaper journalist, so I try to approach my readings sort of, I've always got my notes. I do a little research. I sit with spirit before I start taping. So if you're not familiar with my process, that kind of gives you a bit of an idea behind that. I'm also an initiated priestess in both Wiccan and African traditions. So, I mix it up a little bit and try to use all my skills to give you some good content. And again, I always appreciate your time and your energy. That said, let's get into a couple of things that Spirit led me to today for you all. The weekend was lit on social media and news outlets around this meeting that took place in secret, we're told, between Hakeem Jeffries and Jared Kushner. All right. On the one hand, no surprise, right? Hakeem Jeffries is aware that he's under a lot of pressure, and there's building resistance to him as Speaker of the House, assuming that the House is going to flip. And there were a lot of media outlets who said that was definitely a tell that Kushner took a meeting and wanted a meeting with Hakeem Jeffries as the assumed next leader of the House. So this was some acknowledgement from Kushner and that side, the right, that the House is about to flip. All right, what was it about? Was it about cards one on top? And I'm gonna read from the Deeper Views Oracle. Spirit, was this about continued funding and like a smooth road in Gaza? Because we know part of what's happened with Hakeem is his money from APAC and other APAC backed organizations. Spirit, was Kushner paving a smoother road with congressional oversight or funding balance, trying to reach out and I know I'm not your friend, but here's where we both benefit from what I'm doing or planning to do in Gaza. Faded pictures, because he knows this was Kushner's acknowledgement, or the acknowledgement on the right, that that the House is going. The House is going to go the Democrats' way. Spirit, what was so we know what Kushner wanted. What was Jeffries' impetus for taking the meeting? What is Jeffries getting out of this? Trapped. He wants the money. He needs the money. Wow. He's indebted to and the flow. There you have it. I mean, Spirit ain't even making it hard for us, y'all, right? The flow of money. This was self-interest on behalf of, but you know what? Spirit is reminding me, or like, this isn't just Jeffries looking out for his own financial benefit. This is that whole quadrant of Democratic so-called leaders who have accepted money, the establishment Dems who have accepted money and continue to rely on money funding from APAC and those other dark money organizations. So in the fall, this was all leading toward, of course, the elections. And that's what Jeffries is focused on. He wants it no matter what. And travel. Now we know part of this was the Gaza situation was all about new development. Witkoff, etc., all the folks with Kushner and all of them getting together, they want new development. Israel wants control of the region. The Kushner and Witkoff and them, they want to build and make money. Did they discuss Jeffries having some sort of ownership opportunities or opportunities in Gaza? Divine time. Prepare. Listen, this was not just Jeffries looking out for himself financially. This was also what I'm getting here in these cards, you all, and the energy is that this was long-term preparation by Jeffries to look out for his own financial interests, perhaps even ownership in some real estate in the region for entertainment purposes only. And there's the truth. Now, what's going to be interesting about that is, of course, in terms of any congressional oversight, should Jeffries become an owner in any of this real estate, one way or another, the truth is going to come out and he will be in trouble. So that leads me to wonder, now I'm ready to go to tarot. Is the resistance and the opposition to Jeffries going to be strong enough to strip it from him, to strip the House leadership, the Speaker of the House role from him? We know he's already under a lot of pressure. He's already trying to navigate. He's been very forceful in his opposition to progressive Democratic leadership, but lately, with the winds coming in, he's starting to weeble and wobble around a little bit. Spirit, will there be mounting opposition to Hakeem Jeffries being leader of the Speaker of the House? Is there going to be mounting opposition, especially in the wake of this Kushner situation? The Three of Wands, growing opposition. The Knight of Wands, growing opposition. And the Sun. I don't even want to see this, but I almost am getting that because the Sun is success, it did come reversed. Is there someone else? Let's just ask it point blank, period. Is there someone else who will emerge as Speaker of the House? Of course, many of us, I know you're going to talk about AOC. Will there be a different Speaker of the House? We have the Ace of Pentacles, y'all. So maybe the reason that Sun came reversed is because what was assumed to be, and apparently what Kushner and the right are thinking, is he's going to be the automatic, Jeffries will be the heir apparent to Pelosi, right? That's how he lined himself up all along. That somehow that is going to flip. Spirit, will we have a different Speaker of the House? Is there someone else who will emerge and gather enough support to take that speakership away from Jeffries? Page of Pentacles. Now, we just had the Ace. That's the start of a conversation, start of movement, all that Wands energy we saw. Page of Pentacles moves really slow. And I think what we're getting from that is who would build enough momentum against the Democratic machine or establishment in Congress to sway. And there's Judgment, yes. He's going to have a real struggle. And I think what Kushner was doing was laying the groundwork to say, if you play nice with us, there's going to be some benefits for you down the line, not just financial, but perhaps even real estate related or travel related or other benefits related. But this Judgment feels like people's a resurgence of or a new surge in opposition to Jeffries within the ranks of Congress. The Eight of Cups, people ready to walk away from him. The investment that a lot of people had in the promise of his career, Jeffries, people walking away from that. Queen of Swords, here we go. I'm going to come out and ask, is this Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Is this her? The Nine of Pentacles. She's definitely being approached. Spirit, please show me a major arcana. If this is something that's going to grow in direct opposition to Jeffries. The High Priestess. Ask and you shall receive. All right? But the High Priestess doesn't show her cards right away. There is an element of not, behind the veil, if you will. So I don't know that we are going to see, like, it's not, essentially what Spirit is saying, it's not like because, hey, now we all see again, yet another example of Jeffries not being that dude. But that doesn't mean we're going to immediately see someone like an AOC come out and start getting on a bullhorn like I'm your girl, choose me, let's ditch this guy. I think with the High Priestess is that there will be there's a timing element here, there's wisdom here, and there's time that she is spending, perhaps AOC is spending perhaps behind the scenes garnering enough support before she really goes public and starts to push for it. But he's in trouble, and nobody's feeling sorry for that. Very, very interesting. All right. Moving on to Mark Carney and Canada. For our Canadian, our neighbors to the north who may see this, like, please continue to understand, as angry as you have every right to be with America, to keep it, let's keep it in mind that it is not Americans that are this. We are still your friends. We are still your neighbors, and this is horrible. But Mark Carney stood the ground and said, you know what? Let's do this then. If this is what you want to do, here's the situation. If you want, do your own research, you all. I started looking at exactly like electricity, a lot of things around the power grids, a lot of things around the reliance of the U.S., especially in some of the border states, the New England states, New York. I also saw that Canada supplies 60%, up to 60% of imported oil and gas, fertilizer to farms in the Midwest for agriculture, lumber for the housing market, and 85% of hydropower electricity to states like New York, New England states I mentioned, Michigan, where so much is on the line, and where else? Washington State, of course, the Pacific Northwest, oil, crude oil, cold coming, winter coming, states like Illinois, Minnesota, North Dakota, Ohio, many of those affecting, Republican strongholds, right? Spirit, are we going to see a cold winter in the U.S. and lack of resources, access to oil and gas, especially as a lot of these states from that Pacific Northwest, we saw Washington all the way across to New York and states in between. Are we going to see power shortages as they go into the winter, as these states go into the winter? Is this situation with Canada going to hit? I have the Eight of Cups at the bottom of the deck. I think this is the sentiment with Canada and the leadership in Canada, and Carney essentially saying, this wasn't our decision, but you forced our hand. Will there be Temperance comes up? The Nine of Wands, the strain on people's ability to have power, and especially Judgment comes back. This is major, you all. With those three cards I just pulled, two of them are major arcana. We know when we get majors, it's the situation is high energy. The Judgment, I think there's going to be some attempt. Six of Pentacles, exactly. There's going to be some attempt by this regime. Somebody told me don't even call it an administration, call it a regime. I hear you on that. This is going to, when we get into those winter months or closer to it, and they recognize there are two cards of moderation or negotiation happening here. One, the Temperance card, polar opposites having to come together and alchemize to reach a solution, along with the Six of Pentacles, which is also very often a card of negotiation. So I think one way or another, no matter how he always frames it, Trump, I got what I wanted with this, blah, 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 the bluster. I think something's going to force the U.S., especially energy executives or energy, those responsible, even state leaders. Is that what we're going to get? Is that what judgment is about, Spirit? You're going to see state governors reaching out and trying to work deals with Canada. The Four of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles, the struggle. The Four of Cups is this struggle, recognizing the struggle that people are going to have around their needs, around their needs for energy and electricity and heat and oil during the winter months especially. And the Ace of Pentacles is, yes, I think that you're going to have states who go directly to Canada, try to work something out. Five of Cups, so much regret among people. And the Knight of Swords, the need to go ahead and get conversations or deals or agreements, separate agreements going, because this is not the states themselves, especially those who would be majorly impacted. This is not, so you've got for instance, New York, you've got a Kathy Hochul on the horn to Mark Carney, to other Canadian officials, the Ace of Swords. I was waiting. I needed that. Thank you, Spirit. Yes, and that's swords, communications. So there will be, the tariff situation aside, I think we're going to start to see states themselves and state governors and leaders going directly to Canadian officials to try and work something out, because that's huge. That is huge. Now, that leads me, I just want to close this out. Did I get that right, Spirit? The Three of Cups, yes. And that feels celebratory. That feels like there will be some deals reached, because again, our neighbors to the north, Canadian officials recognize, everyone recognizes, this is not the will of the American people. This is the American people and being essentially held hostage to the whims of this regime, right? So don't lose heart at that. Don't panic. I think there's going to be some deals worked out to continue to furnish energy supplies or energy resources to these states that would be most impacted. That said, though, we're hearing more talk about plans to disrupt the power grids in America, especially leading up to the elections. Now, in my research, what spirit is telling me, number one, but also what I found online and doing some research, is there is actually, and I didn't know this, maybe you didn't either, there is actually a legal requirement I learned from on behalf of election officials within the states to have contingency plans in case there's a power outage or power grids go down. So those contingency plans, of course, would be paper ballots, would be backup generators to keep the votes, to keep it going, but also recognizing that all of these methods then would slow down tabulation and therefore slow down certification of votes. Spirit, are we going to see, first of all, are we going to see more disruptions in power as we head toward November? Are we going to see more disruptions in power? And I'm going to get to the AI component of that in a moment. I know many of you are already on your keyboards because we know that's what's happening. AI is sucking up all the juice, and therefore the especially in the states where the infrastructure and the power grids were already strained, where's the power going? We have the Two of Cups at the bottom with the Fool. I'm not going to ignore that. At the bottom with the Tower. And the World. You know I'm not going to ignore that. There are going to be some disruptions, you all. The Tower and the World coming together. That's the World is Saturn, infrastructure. The grids themselves and the Tower. So some disruptions, but there's also the Fool that comes, and that feels like, with the Two of Cups, that feels like contingency plans. There are contingency plans that are being put in place based on these disruptions, the world and the Tower, based on disruptions, likely disruptions. We don't want to claim it, but likely disruptions in power for the Fool, what the alternatives are to calculate, tabulate, and protect the vote. And Temperance, again, comes back. So there will be some sort of, it may delay. We know that Temperance also calls for patience very often. It's something that requires time to figure it out. Spirit, are we going to see longer than expected wait times for official results from the midterm elections overall? I know I'm generalizing here, but I'm just looking at the energy. The Three of Cups, the Queen of Swords, the Knight of Swords, and the Ten of Wands. Let's start with that Ten of Wands. So there is a lot of extra work, right? Super extra is what I was hearing. I know that sounds weird, but super extra work that's going to have to go into, in the wake of disruptions, getting the votes counted. But Three of Cups is celebration with the Queen of Swords and the Knight of Swords. So there's going to be a lot of information coming at the public around what the results are, or what they are, what the trends are in counting and tabulating. The public is going to get the information. Then the Six of Pentacles, it's the time it takes to put it together, but it will. I have been saying in most of my readings around the midterms, you all, and I don't feel like I'm being Pollyannish about this at all. I do think our system is going to hold. I do get a very strong sense that every measure that could be taken to, like counteroffensive, if you will, everything that is being done or should be done, and there's the Moon, to shed light on, to prepare for, but not, the frustrating part of this in coming in the Moon is that we're not getting an actual ABC blueprint. Here's the game plan, America. Here's what we are prepared to do. It's as if with that Moon energy behind the scenes, you may not see it, right? The light might not be shed on it yet, but trust and believe we're moving behind the scenes to have things in place in case of anything that they can do. The Knight of Pentacles, exactly. The slow, steady, reliable, measured efforts to protect elections. Now, we also know, and the Nine of Pentacles to confirm that, all right? And I'm also liking that I'm getting more minor arcana in that, because if there were truly cause for alarm that the attempts to power outages, these so-called election deniers, or not so-called, election deniers, all of these things that are being, the so-called, the oversight, I keep wanting to say so-called, but it ain't, for entertainment purposes only, gotta say that. But for everything they have gotten together, especially I'm hearing the attorneys generals in these states legally, understanding what the recourse is, that collectively, that there is something that is being put in place. And the moment that there are power outages or something that comes up to disrupt, there will be countermeasures that are already in place, ready, set, go. All right. So I'm hoping we continue to feel inspired by that. And again, it all comes down to what many of us know, not even woo-woo spirit. It's like, do the math. People have got to show up and show out, right? At the polls in unprecedented numbers. And let me close out this portion of the reading with that. Will we see, Spirit? Will we see an absolutely historic turnout for the midterm elections in November? Definitely heard as I'm asking that less reliance on mail-in balloting. We have heard that the U.S. Postmaster General or whatever, they're already making announcements and excuses about, making ballots available by mail. When will people receive the ballots by mail if they're on the list to get that? Are they making them available and processing them and delivering them? Like the U.S. Postal Service has already, essentially, justice just fell out. I'm not going to ignore it. And the Five of Wands, the fight over that, and the Seven of Pentacles to tabulate the votes. So Postal Service is already red alert around that. I think what we're going to see is more people making an effort, talking about a historic turnout at the polls. Early voting, day of, historic turnout, Spirit. Seven of Cups, people trying to figure out what they're going to do. Three of Cups, a concerted effort and celebration around it and talking to one another about it. And the Nine of Pentacles, the means to cast their vote in person is what I'm getting from that Pentacles. I feel like I would have gotten more swords if it was going to be through the mail. Queen of Wands and the Eight of Cups. There's somebody putting out the message, don't rely on the Postal Service. And here comes justice back again. Okay? So you're going to see historic turnout. You're going to see somebody who comes out and really reinforces that message. Do not rely on traditional mail-in balloting. Be prepared to go in person. Eight of Pentacles. Be prepared to go make it happen. And the World. Historic numbers. This is big. Big. We're going to see people, Knight of Pentacles, movement of people at the polls. Seven of Swords, tired of being lied to, not trusting the Postal Service, and the Knight of Cups, uniting to save democracy, essentially. And that is both sides. And the Ten of Cups, absolutely. The will of the people uniting. Now, that is both sides. That's going to be Republicans who are still brainwashed. The MAGA folks who are still brainwashed and mounting on their little horses to go cast their votes. But I get the sense that historically the numbers will be so enormous. Page of Cups. Young voters especially, and the Nine of Wands and the Devil. Their efforts to tamp down and suppress the vote ain't working. And what's interesting about the Devil as well is I get that this is some MAGA voters or contingent of them being so disillusioned and overwhelmed, not wanting to get out and vote and switch their votes for a Democratic candidate, but perhaps sitting it out. Because my overall question is numbers of voters. So I think what Spirit is showing us is the ratio of voters, independents, Democrats, younger voters, is going to be larger compared to what had been maybe historically very large Republican turnout. And the Queen of Cups and the Wheel of Fortune. and the moon. Wow, this is the divine feminine, meaning the care that people energetically and families, as well as there are a really significant number of female candidates who are on ballots across the nation. So that we're going to see a big swing, Wheel of Fortune. We're going to see a big swing in women who gain office. And the moon feminine again, we're going to see a huge swing in first numbers of voters. Women are going to turn out unbelievably, and secondly, candidates, female candidates, are going to win handily in November. All right, y'all. Let's see what else I had here. Good news. I said, I'm trying to end, and many of you have responded to the good news. And I want to thank again the subscriber. I can't remember, I get so many emails, but there was someone who suggested that to me, like Afefe, just like we do our chin up, shoulders back. How about with all of this tension that continues to build, how about doing some readings, ending the readings with some good news? So today's good news. And I have one question related to it, but first I just want to share it with you. So a couple of things. So, and this is related to DoorDash, and this is related to corporations being pulled to do the right thing based on the goodness that they see exhibited from people. So we had a DoorDash delivery driver named Hope. I don't know where this was. I didn't see it in the story. But she did a delivery to a TikTok influencer and author with like 5 million followers, and she put a note in the package. This DoorDash delivery driver, that said, "Thank you for your tip, because it's going to help. Your tip is helping make our wedding possible. It means the world to us." Signed, Hope and Tyler. So this delivery driver left a note in the package to this 5 million follower TikTok and author, influencer and author, saying, "Thanks, your tip helps us plan our wedding." Well, apparently this author was so moved by that because she put her name on it, Hope and Tyler, she looked up wedding registries, tracked them down, and sent like gobs of Amazon packages and gifts to the registered address. And as a result, DoorDash got wind of it and also sent the couple gifts, right? So that was one example, just dropping that note in the thing, saying thanks for your tip. It helps us, have our wedding. And look what came of that. And DoorDash also, when they learned about it, also gave the delivery driver and her fiance some gifts. The second one, and this one really moved me, back in March, apparently, of this year, there was another DoorDash driver, elderly man. They said couldn't even make it up was struggling to make it up 3 steps to deliver the package. And so the person, nobody famous, but the person who saw him struggling to get up those steps felt so deeply for him, got his information, started a GoFundMe page for him. It raised $940,000, which allowed him to certainly retire. But also, as a result of that, DoorDash, when they get wind of it, of course, these things make news or social media rounds or whatever, DoorDash added another $20,000 to that, right? So what I'm wondering to close out today is okay, kudos DoorDash, like, you jumped on that and did some things in both of those situations with the young married couple and helping this guy contributing to his retirement. Spirit, are we going to see more corporations get in on things? 9 of Wands, pressure to do so in the world. I think so. The key is going to be the devil. Yeah. So it's always about their money. They're always going to operate from the perspective of their money and what benefits them and retaining their employees. But there is a push to do it. The world is a shift in temperament, a shift in customer loyalty. devil as well, what you're attached to or what you feel compelled to do. And there is that pressure, the Nine of Wands. It is going to put pressure on. So I'm seeing that this is not, whereas the examples that we just got in the good news is, humanitarians, folks responding human to human and doing something good. On the company end of it, it's more strategic. We're not surprised by that, but hey, okay, bring it. We'll take it. All right. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Chin up, shoulders back, always, and come from your hearts. I love doing these good news stories. Come from our hearts, right? If the corporations want to jump on board and so that we continue to be loyal to them or utilize their services, so be it, right? But let's stay here toward one another, because that sky is always above us and that earth is beneath us, holding us steady. Go out and put your feet in some grass or some sand or some lake water or even a pool, Stay connected with the earth. It helps your nervous system. It helps ground your body, helps keep you centered, because we are in the thick of the thick of the thick of the. And it ain't going to stop in November. We're going to have to stay with it for a while, but we will. That's what it has to be. And so we're not going anywhere, right? All right. Take good care. I'll see you back on Wednesday. Wednesday, I'm going to check in with you all on Barron, who, because Thursday is the extradition hearing on the Tate brothers, Andrew and Tristan Tate. Many of you remember they got arrested recently. They're being held in Miami because they are, the UK is trying to extradite them for all their crimes. We know what they've been doing. They're sickos. So their hearing is coming up because they've been ever since they got taken. I think it was July 4th or around that time. They've been behind bars and they're trying to fight it to be set free to get bond while they are fighting these extradition attempts to be sent back to the UK. Meanwhile, we have some chatter in Congress about bringing Barron in to testify because there were some emails, and apparently, especially during the 2024 election, Barron established a relationship. The extent of it, question mark, but he established a relationship with the Tate brothers because of the whole. Remember, in 2024, it was all all systems go with the manosphere and the hyper testosterone and the Joe Rogan experience and all of those things that apparently Barron and his younger contingent of voters were a part of, allegedly, supposedly. So if the regime, Daddy Trump, does not play nice and try to do something to help the Tate brothers, is something going to happen to bring Barron and his role with them, whatever that might be, to the public's attention? Going to be interesting to see. So I think I'm going to take a look at that among whatever else Spirit leads me to on Wednesday. Okay. Y'all take good care out there. I really appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.